I do think the Jets need to get a good backup quarterback right away, a veteran, but they need to scour that trade market. And I talked to AJ about this, and Brett, you can let me know how you feel. There's two teams that I think could make a deal for a quarterback. One is the Vikings. If they start to go bad, which things could go bad, I could see Kirk Cousins, he's a free agent, maybe gets dealt. The other one,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been bandied about a lot, Matthew Stafford. And the it's too good not to happen when you think about the peripherals and what is in store for this season. The Rams stink. I know they played well. He looked really good. Their defense came out of nowhere, but the talent's not there. They're without Cooper Kupp. He might be gone for the year. I mean, his injury is really that bad. Um, they don't have many other pieces. Cam Akers looked terrible. I know they had Kyron Williams, stuff like that, but if they were to deal him within the next couple of weeks, they have a chance to get the number one overall pick in the draft. And that is a guy in their own backyard named Caleb Williams, who, if you're in LA, you don't really think about football unless you're a USC fan or a UCLA fan.
Mm-hmm.
You could theoretically see your stud quarterback from USC go to your team in LA. Chargers aren't really the LA's team. It's more the Rams. But I think the Jets have to keep it just badgering Sean McVay.
So I think it depends on how the Jets season plays out under Zach Wilson. I think if they start off strong like they did last year before his injury, I think you got to roll with him, right? Because I feel like all we've been hearing about is how Nathaniel Hackett's system, his offense is intricate. It's with Rodgers, input obviously, and how they don't want to necessarily bring in anybody outside because they have to learn that system. Wilson's already learned that system or is learning that system, right? So,
Stafford's smart though. I think he learned that within a week.
I agree. So I think that's one piece, right? Is how the Jets start. They are definitely a team this year, next year, right? I think are Super Bowl or bust. Like they've gone all in, obviously.
Yeah.
So that is one piece. I think the second piece is if you go after Stafford, what do you do, right? Because he's got 2 years, 3 years left on his contract, right?
You could easily trade him. You could easily trade him for a first, probably too.
Okay, but we just have to cross that bridge, right? Because you still have Rodgers on that team. That could cause some. I don't know if that causes a rift with Rodgers or between the guys you want. What happens there? I mean, I that's stuff for an off-season talk, but there's a lot of pieces there. I think that kind of have to go into it, and Zach Wilson has to be a game manager in my mind. He can't make the mistakes that he's used to making. I think he did a pretty good job on Monday night of making sure that he limited his mistakes. Yeah, he had that terrible interception, but I think
that was one of the worst interceptions I've seen. He looked the barrel of the gun was the entire way at Matt Milano. And Milano was like, you want this back? And that's why he got the flag for it. But
I 100% agree. But I think when it came down to it, right, he made those 2 or 3 big third down passes that he had needed to make. He put them in field goal range, right? He did the things that he needed to do. I also don't think that when Rodgers got out, that they played it conservative. They didn't continue to have the same game plan that they did, right? So I think you kind of have to let Wilson do his thing a little bit, right? You got to trust him. You got to let him make the throws. You can't just keep. I mean, I love the combination of Brees and Dalvin running it down.
Awesome.
The Bills' throats, but you have to let him throw. So you gotta give him some leeway in the offense.
Brett, outsider.
I'm
Let's
agreeing,
give it.
you got to get someone else there. But first, I mean, you guys are on the right track. The one narrative that's getting tossed around right now is people saying that the Jets need to look outside of their current team to go get a new starter, and that's just not good. I mean, in the sense that you have to believe that Zach Wilson has been in the system. He's been with under Saleh for 2 years now. He knows the system. You're not going to bring anyone else off the road, like all these people calling for Cam Newton or Carson Wentz to come out of their street clothes and come play. It's not going to work. It's not going to be better. It's only going to be worse. I like the Stafford idea. It's not bad. The only thing that's really going to hold the Jets back on that standpoint is he's under contract through 2026. So that is not someone you're going to be able to just trade for the season. And on top of that, trading for anyone who's not on the last year of their deal is almost unheard of, especially from a quarterback standpoint.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I like where you're at with Kirk Cousins. I think that is the likelier opportunity for the Jets to get another quarterback, especially because the narrative for Kirk Cousins and the Vikings going into this season is if they can't win more than a playoff game, his time in Minnesota is probably done. So,
Yep.
also, off what we talked about last week, they showed it week one. Their hollow record from last year. What do they do week one of the season? They lose a one-score football game right off the bat. So they're starting to show their true colors. I would not be shocked if you guys were able to call up the Vikings in a few, like 3 or 4 weeks when they start 0-4 and get a healthy offer in there for Kirk Cousins, because it's going to be trending in that direction. I don't see the Vikings doing well this year, especially if they can't overcome their week one challenge. I mean, they're just not going to get past. Today's going to be awakening for them. The Eagles are going to come out on fire, and you guys could maybe give them a call right after that game and be like, Kirk didn't look too good, but definitely higher odds of getting Kirk than Stafford. That contract is just going to make it too hard. You guys would have 3 quarterbacks, one on a rookie contract with Zach Wilson, but we're talking a top 5 overall pick rookie contract. And then whatever you guys gave Rodgers, and you guys know Minnesota, or not Minnesota, LA paid Stafford to come over there. So that would just be it. That's too many large quarterback contracts on the same team. Yep. The benefit of Cousins is he is on the last year of his deal. So I think that is a route that you guys could potentially go down.
I actually didn't know. Do NFL players on injury reserve count against the salary cap? Is that still?
I don't know if the salary cap. I know they don't count on the 53-man roster.
Well, yeah, I just didn't know if obviously you get paid, but I was trying to look it up and then my thing blocked me. But yeah, we'll take a look. But all right, so week one in the books. It was actually a good week of football. You guys can tell me if you think differently, but from that Monday night game, Buffalo at Jets, where the Jets, and you could see it on Robert Sala's face, he looked like his mom just died. They go into halftime. They're down 13-3. They come back out, and Zach Wilson kind of led them back. They win 22-16, but you have that fantastic punt return for the walk-off touchdown. You have a ridiculous Breece Hall 89-yard run, set them up for their lone touchdown on offense. You had the defense picking, Whitehead picking him off 3 times, Josh Allen. And I like Josh Allen as a fantasy quarterback, but he has not shown me, other than the game against Kansas City in the playoffs 2 years ago where they went back and forth, I haven't seen much from him that says I am top 3, top 2 quarterback. He makes too many mistakes, and you just can't have that. And he plays hero ball all the time, and it just does not work.
I agree with you. If you look at the difference between the Eagles and Bills last year, it's just turnovers, right? It's almost the same style of offense. You don't have a go-to running back. You use a committee. You got a couple go-to wide receivers, and you let your quarterback do his thing. But the difference is Jalen Hurts did not turn the ball over last year. He did in the Super Bowl, and they lost. And it was only 1 turnover, and it wasn't that bad. But I agree with you. Josh Allen turns the ball over too much. That's where I wanted to go with this past Monday night game, was not the miraculous win by the Jets, because it was miraculous.
Yeah.
But just how bad Josh Allen was. There's no weather in this game either. I mean, you look at the Cincinnati-Cleveland game, and no one's really getting on Joe Burrow right now because that game was a torrential downpour. I mean, hats off to Cleveland in that game. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. They ran the ball with Nick Chubb and Deshaun Watson instead of trying to throw the ball downfield, whereas Cincinnati just kept chucking. But it's the same thing with Josh Allen. Like, he needs to be more consistent. 4 turnovers in a game is not going to get it done, especially with how good the AFC is in general this year. So still great win for the Jets, but if I'm the Bills and they struggle again this week, it's panic button time already.
I mean, you got the Raiders week 2. If you can't not punch them through earth, you're in deep trouble. AJ, go ahead.
Yeah, if they can't stop Jimmy G, They got some problems.
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, I was just really impressed with Brees Hall. You know that those 2 runs that he had, right, and having Dalvin Cook too. I think it's a blessing.
Adrian Peterson-esque.
Yeah,
where
he looked great, and if Garrett Wilson didn't celebrate instead of just blocking him, blocking that guy that chased the ball, you would have had the touchdown.
He had a touchdown. But Brees even said he was dogging it at like 70-yard line. He was like, "Oh no," he didn't have that.
I mean, I'm sure he's still a little conscious of his knee, right? But
give
it halfway through the season.
Half a season.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like he'll be the normal Brees Hall that the Jets and we've kind of come to expect. And another bad thing I thought I saw was Sauce Gardner did not have a good game.
No, but that actually makes me feel better.
Yeah, true.
Knowing that he had a bad game and they still played that well on defense, that other people stepped up. Their defensive line got after people. It's very good.
Yeah,
I think that'll be key for you guys in the Jets now is obviously you guys are going to have to lean on the running game heavy now. How well are Brees Hall and Dalvin Cook going to be able to do in that running game with loaded boxes on almost every down? Because that's what's going to be coming the rest of the season. Teams are going to be daring Zach Wilson to pass.
Yeah. All right, so obviously that great Buffalo game and talked about it throughout, and it's going to be one of those wins that Jets fans kind of remember just for what happened and the whole leading up. Dallas and the Giants, and an absolute shellacking, 40-0. I was not impressed with Dak Prescott. I thought he was bad. And, Tony Pollard was decent. CeeDee Lamb at 143 passing yards from Dak. He had 77 of them. He was decent. Their defense is legit. Just rammed Daniel Jones in the face the entire time. Not really sure what the coach was doing, leaving him in for the entire game. I understand you want to get your guy going a little bit, but it got him injured, and I could only imagine the 2 New York teams having Tyrod Taylor and Zach Wilson starting games for the rest of the season would not be pretty. New York Giants need to get their offensive line going. They need to get pass protection going much better than they did. And Saquon Barkley didn't have a great game. The fumble, he looked kind of sluggish. I know in the beginning of the year, the game, he kind of took off, but from there it was a little bit of where'd he go?
It's funny too, because I thought that the start of the game for the Giants was pretty good, right? And then you had the blocked field goal return for the touchdown, and I feel like they just lost everything right there, right? That the next series they had a punt, Dallas scored again, and then I think it had an interception. Looks like, I mean that whole initial first drive, right, for the Giants kind of bit them in the foot, and I mean I don't want to say it's panic already for the Giants, but they have to have a showing this week coming up.
Dare to say must win week 2 for both Giants and Bills?
I don't know if it's definitely more must win for the Bills than necessarily the Giants. I think if anything from the Giants, you're just hoping to see some form of life. That's about all I mean, you still want a good season, but I'm worried about the Giants in the standpoint they didn't go out and get any wide receivers. So there's almost no wide receivers on this team.
Yeah.
They did get Darren Waller, but with how bad the offensive line looked, you got to assume you're going to have to bring him in on pass protection. So now your best weapon on offense is going to have to help out in pass protection instead of going out for passes. I'm worried about the Giants offense in general if they can't figure out how to block. If they can't do that, they're not a team that's going to be able to throw the ball deep down the field because they just don't have the weapons to do that. So they're going to have to figure out these short yardage gains, and that's going to be done up front with the offensive line. And after week 1, I'm very worried about them. So if anything, Bills massive have to win this week to be especially where they want to be. They want to be top 2 in the AFC. They can't lose their first 2 games and be that. The Giants, let's be real, they're hoping to be one of the wild card teams to squeak into the playoffs. This is not a must win for them, but they need to show some form of life.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have,
all right, AJ.
They have to win games outside of their division for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, agreed. All right, AJ. two games I wanted to get to before we go to week 2. The best game I thought was um, Miami and LA. The 2-0, 460 yards, Tyreek Hill 215. The other game was San Fran at Pittsburgh. And Brett, it's not, knock on you and your team, but your team stunk. That was bad. That was a shellacking. So AJ, why don't you cover quickly that lovely Miami team, and Brett, I'll have you opine on Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean, Tua, right? When he's healthy,
He's good.
He's a machine. He's a great quarterback, right? But the whole knack on him, obviously, right, throughout this offseason and is injuries. So if he
All
can
right,
stay
I got
healthy,
two. Sorry, offshoot question for this. I read an article. I think it was Bill Barnwell, something stupid. Who could be the next quarterback to pass Joe Burrow in contract terms? And he had Tua on there. He had Tua, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott. He had Mahomes again, which he could, and he had someone else. I can't. He had Goff. I don't know about you, but only Mahomes is the only one I'd put over Joe Burrow in terms of money per year. None of those other four. I know Tua could be good, but you can't pay him $55-60 million a year, can you?
I mean, if he continues to have games like he did against LA, how can you not?
And look where their team was before he got there.
Yeah,
it was bad.
I mean, it does help, right, that they drafted a first round wide receiver, right, in Jalen Waddle, and then they bring in Tyreek Hill, right, to help with him having weapons. But yeah, I mean, out of all those guys, right, Goff isn't going to get a big contract like that.
No,
I think it's Tua, and then I think it's Mahomes, right, are the next two guys that are probably going to get paid again. But yeah, I mean, awesome game. A lot of rushing touchdowns for the Chargers. It's always great seeing Eckler in there. Joshua Kelly, I thought, had a really good game too.
Yep.
It's going to be fun and exciting, watching both those teams kind of go down, for their divisions to see if they can, compete like that. I feel like the Chargers always are losing these, close games by a point, 2 points, however it is. They're just always snake bitten with that way. So, I
was going to say, I didn't think either defense, and both defenses were given credit this offseason of being top 10 or could be top 10. Both these defenses stunk on Sunday.
Yeah, not good.
All right, Brett. 49ers shellacked you. 49ers, you said it. They're good in the beginning of the year. Well, I'll let you go for it.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's basically what you guys heard me say already. It's like, yes, the Steelers stunk. Pickett did not play well, to say the least. Najee Harris was not efficient in any way. Yep. The offense looked bad. And that's kind of shows you what preseason hype gives you. It gives you absolutely nothing. Steelers' best offense in the preseason. Kenny Pickett doesn't throw like an incomplete pass in all of his preseason starts. Looks great. Yep. And just ran into a brick wall. But, this has kind of been who the 49ers have been the past couple of years. When they've been healthy, they've been the best team in the NFL. The 49ers issue has been keeping everyone healthy. So, I mean, as of right now, they're definitely the one team in the NFL I'd be the most afraid of, top to bottom. I know the Cowboys had a great showing week 1, but I'm more concerned about the weapons that San Francisco has. The fact that they can score on a pass that doesn't go anywhere is scary. They can just give the ball to Debo, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, CMC out of the backfield. They don't have to have an efficient offense. What worries about me about the Cowboys in comparison is how will the Cowboys look when their defense doesn't play as well as it did? The 49ers definitely have the offensive firepower to play, regardless of how good their defense is. The Cowboys, we haven't seen it yet because Dak didn't need to do anything last Sunday night. But in general, I'm not too worried about the Steelers. We're in a division where we're all going to beat each other up. We're going to see what happens. It's the AFC North. There's still going to be close games. If one of our losses on the season was to the 49ers week 1, I was always expecting that. I was never going into that game thinking that we were going to win it. Unfortunately, I thought we would show up a little better than we did, only scoring 7. But You know, I'm a
All
little
right.
worried this week without Deontay Johnson, but it'll be a good test for Pickens. Can he be the number one wide receiver that he wants to be?
Yeah.
Um, Allen Robinson getting his chance to try to be a competent wide receiver again
He
as
was the
well.
best
So we'll see
one
how that
on
goes.
Sunday too.
Yeah, he didn't look
Uh,
bad. So he's.
what about Deontay? Now is multiple reports saying he could be out, a few weeks. What? Any news on him? What have you seen?
I mean, it's looking like it's going to be a month, and these soft tissue injuries, they're ones that you don't really want to take lightly. You
Yep.
see it all the time. You saw it with the Rams already in the preseason. It brought Cooper Cup back a little too fast, probably, and tweaked it and out for a month. So that's what you're risking with these types of injuries. So knowing that it's going to come down to probably how well we play in the next couple of weeks. I mean, we got division games starting this week. They got Cleveland on Monday Night Football. But if they start 0-2, 0-3, and the offense looks bad, I wouldn't be surprised if they force him out there week 3, week 4 to try to see if he can get back on track. But I'm not expecting him to show back up till week 5.
Yeah. Quickly, Brock Purdy. I thought he played really well, and that's the thing they need, right? They need that quarterback to kind of come in here and show them what they could do. And it's good to have a quarterback with an arm. It really is. Someone that can throw the ball. It helps out a lot with this team. Just ridiculous. And big fan of the Niners and what they've kind of built. And that's what I'm hoping the Jets eventually get to, but we'll see. All right. Week 2. Couple fun games coming up. Minnesota and Philly are starting now, right? Are they already started? Yeah, I think they already started.
3-0.
3-0
3-0
Eagles.
Eagles.
All right, already the Eagles. For some reason, I can't get Prime on my TV down here. It's lovely, so I'm trying to do it on my phone. Minnesota, I mean, I don't think we don't give them a chance, right, in this game. Philly just too good at home opener for, at the Lincoln Financial Field. I got Eagles, so I'm sure you guys are the same. All right,
Same thing.
AJ.
Vikings, best candidate for regression. They're not going to be able
Yeah.
to win that many one-score games again.
Yeah. All right, AJ, what is your favorite game coming up in the slate of Sunday, even Monday, if you want to go ahead?
I even though it's not what it was what we thought was going to be at the beginning of the season, I do think the Jets versus Dallas, that 425 game, I think that's going to be a good game just because of the Jets defense still, right? And, we get to see
Both defenses.
Exactly. And we get to see kind of what Wilson can be potentially, right, with a week under, his belt, with the first team. I think that'll be a very good game. I actually kind of like Miami and New England too. I thought New England's defense and offense played pretty decently, last week. Miami's obviously high scoring offense. I think that'll be a good matchup for them too. So I like both those games.
Yeah, I mean Miami. I don't know. Not Miami, New England. I just don't know what they're gonna. They obviously were close with Pittsburgh with Philly last week. The 25-20 loss. To me, Philly was coming a little rusty. I don't think they were playing as where they could have been, and I just think New England is not that good. So I'd take Miami and the points if I can. The other game you said, Jets, Dallas. It's going to be a defensive slugfest, and running game is really what it's going to be because. I mean, I'm sure Dallas is going to try to trust Dak a little bit, but this is the guy who led the league in interceptions last year. It's someone that I can't trust, and I think it's going to be a smash mouth football. And we'll see how good Dallas is at stopping the run, which is something at the beginning of the game against the Giants, they couldn't stop the run, and then the Giants just stopped. But we'll see about that. Brett, what is your game of the week?
Well, I mean, I already kind of said it. Obviously, Monday Night Football, Browns, Steelers. I'm looking forward to that. But what I have is the actual game of the week. Give me Chiefs, Jags. Highest over under in the week, 51 points. I'm excited to see some touchdowns get thrown around. Hopefully, the Chiefs will have Kelsey back. And I wouldn't be surprised if both teams scored 30-plus points. So I've got that one circled, and that's where I would sit.
Possible AFC Championship. I was going to say possible AFC Championship game. Teams could be interesting.
I like that.
Jacksonville, I mean, tons of talent there. Same thing, Kansas City. We want to see Mahomes with his best players. That includes Travis Kelce. But like I said, Jacksonville, Etienne, Calvin Ridley, Kirk, Zay Jones. Yeah, they played really well. And I could see them. I could see them at home giving Kansas City a second loss, which you would be hard pressed to think that they would start 0-2, Kansas City Chiefs.
And I will
My
say
other game,
Ridley was probably my biggest wide receiver surprise from week one. I know a lot of people
yeah,
were in on him. I was concerned, hadn't played football in 2 years, and he didn't miss a beat. So kudos to him. He looked great.
yeah.
Yeah, I
My
think
other
he had the
game
first.
before.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, AJ.
No, sorry, I think he had the first touchdown right of that Sunday slate. I think he was the first one.
Yeah,
He did
first
really
touchdown,
good.
8 catches, 101 yards, and a touchdown.
Yeah,
Not too bad. My other game, Baltimore at Cincy. And, both teams coming off of games that they'd rather, not think about. I know that Baltimore, Lamar coming off a big contract, he didn't play as well as I thought he could have. He was the rushing leader at 38 yards, but that was with J.K. Dobbins coming out and tearing his Achilles. I know they won 25-9 against Houston, but it's not really a good showing. On the other hand, Cincinnati gets waxed by Cleveland, and I know it was the rain game and it was tough for them to get going, but you have the highest paid player in the NFL in week one coming out and laying an absolute egg, and Joe Burrow, I think, has something to prove in this one. It's a division matchup, same thing again, and since he needs to get going, and I really think that for them to be one of the top teams in the league, they need to flex muscle against teams in the division, especially against the maybe the team that could compete with them for a division title. The rest of the slate, right? Green Bay at Atlanta. We talked about Buffalo, LA. Seattle, Detroit's a little sneaky. I know Seattle didn't play great last week, but Detroit obviously coming off the win versus Kansas City Chiefs Thursday Night Football. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
We already touched on it slightly, but you like Detroit? I mean, my thing that I'm worried about is it's similar to what we discussed previously, and I'm worried about the Seahawks offensive line. I mean, it looked bad. They could not stop Aiden Hutchinson at all. And I just don't know if they can't. I'm worried about the whole Seahawks offense, top to bottom. They can't block, and if they can't, they lost their right tackle last week, and they signed. I forget who it was. 41-year-old off the streets who's going to come in and play right tackle for them. That's
was
not
that
good.
Was it not Charles Cross? He was the one that got hurt. Oh man, yeah. Luckily, without both starting tackles for week 2. Wow.
Yeah. So I mean, if they can't stop the Rams, I mean, I get the Rams have a good D line, but there's no way they're going to stop Aiden Hutchinson. I don't see them. There's no chance. They're going to get eaten alive. But the issue is, the Seahawks are a down the field, deep passing team. If they can't get pass protection, then DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett can't get included in the offense, and this offense doesn't go unless one of those two guys is hitting.
Yeah. It was Jason Peters.
I just like Detroit's offense too, right? You have Goff that's been playing well, since I would say mid-season, right, last year. You bring in the number one, pick for them, Jahmyr Gibbs, who had, just looking at stats, only 7 carries, right? He looked amazing, making guys miss.
Yeah.
I saw a crazy stat, right? If he continues this, he's gonna, break all sorts of, kind of records and stuff like that. I mean, just the weapons that they have, for Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? And then you look towards the future for them, right? With if Jameson Williams can get his kind of act together, I know he was injured last year and then the suspension, but he's a highly touted, player for them that that they don't have on the field right now. So it's just an even scarier offense.
Yeah. Brett, just quickly, Chargers at Tennessee. I like the Chargers, but you think Tennessee has anything, or is what we saw last week pretty much what they are?
If they do what they did last week, they have no shot. I mean, this team, as much as they're trying to limit the touches going towards Derrick Henry because he's getting up there in age, their dominant seasons from years ago were when they force-fed Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And they controlled the
400
clock
touches.
and they ate up time. If they're going to have to put the ball in Ryan Tannehill's hands, Tennessee has no chance. So for the Chargers and this game, basically it's going to be who scores first. If Tennessee can score first and control the clock and the football, they got a shot. If they do not score first against the Chargers, they do not have enough firepower to keep up with them.
Yeah. I say for all those Giants fans, if you want, you can go to Glendale, Arizona, State Farm Stadium, $16 for tickets. That's what the going rate is right now. I say, Brett, in your own backyard, Washington at Denver, defensive matchup. That's not an overall bad, game to watch, but guys, football week 1, fun.
Yeah, but the Broncos Commanders game, this is definitely a game that you got to look at Sean Payton and Russell Wilson for. This is, in my mind, a must win for them. You have to beat rookie quarterback in the Commanders. You just have to, especially if you want to be anywhere near to where the expectations were 2 years ago. This is a must win for the Broncos. Commanders, they don't have to win. It'd be nice for them, but I mean, in general, the Commanders finish 7-10. I think they're pretty okay with that. Not saying they're okay with it, but I don't think the Commanders are expecting much from this year. If the Broncos finish 7-10, people will be disappointed.
Yeah. I mean, I think Wilson had a decent game last week, but I think they need to get that rushing going a little bit. I know Javonte is obviously coming off the ACL injury and all that stuff, but if you get him going, that opens up the great wide receivers that they have. And I know obviously Judy was out too and stuff like that, but bringing him back, we'll be good. And having Cortland Sutton, I think they have weapons, and I think they're are a sleeper team, that could surprise people.
Yeah. Quickly before AJ gets trivia, my 3 favorite bets of the week. I do like the Jets +9. I mean, to get +9 with that defense against Cowboys team that really I didn't see anything on offense, I would take that. I really like the Cincinnati Bengals -3. I think they get the win, and I think it's not comfortable, but I would say that the -3 should be pretty decent. And then Buffalo Bills -8.5. This is a game where they need to, like I said, stomp the Raiders through earth. So let's see what happens there. AJ trivia, and then Sam will take her home.
All right, so we had C.J. Stroud, start his NFL career last week. His first reception was actually to himself. Who was the other quarterback? Who was the latest quarterback to have a reception to himself?
Ooh, I saw the reception to himself. That was a good one. But
Brett, to start his career,
it was for a touchdown too, if I remember correctly.
So to start his career, I should say. Sorry, his first career. Okay. Yes.
Because who did you say, Brett?
Well, the most recent one would have been Mariota. He
threw a touchdown
pass. It got tipped. Yeah. He caught it and he scored. So he threw a touchdown pass to himself. But if we're talking first career pass,
yes, first career pass and reception.
Was it Mahomes?
I will say he is a Hall of Famer.
It's got Brett Favre energy written all over it.
It is Brett Favre.
Oh, it's Brett Favre. All right, I like it. Yeah, so I guess he threw it off someone's helmet and then ran with it, probably.
Yeah. So nice. Ironically, Desmond Ridder, his first pass this season was almost the same exact thing for Stroud, like Stroud, but he just bedded it down. So he almost had it too.
All right, boys. Another great show. Thank you very much. Everybody listening, everybody on Facebook, YouTube, Apple, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Like I said, please give us a great review if you get a chance. Tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your family, tell anybody that'll listen. We are back week 3, Thursday next week. For me, AJ, and Brett, this is Football Primetime.